Hey, I just wanted to take this evening and kind of share our story with you and share the story of some of the people that we've been interacting with through this journey. And we're pretty happy about where we're at right now. You know, there's always things we'd like to see a little bit better. We're always discovering new things, but we both got experience in real estate for quite some time. And so we're okay handling new things that come our way. And we think that we've been responding to them fairly well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here on going to the next slide. Probably have to click into that or turn it on, either one. There we go. All right, I'm going to get started here. So as we said, we've been looking at the real estate market for quite some time now. And we started to see these trends that really caused us some concern. And as we go through these, I think you're going to identify with them as well. I mean, if you're buying food, my wife tells me I don't even know the prices of food. And I am shocked every time I go and pay for something myself. I'm like, wow, that costs a lot. And a lot of times she's doing the grocery shopping, but I'm just shocked when I buy something. And then electricity's going up. We're always seeing that increase. And we've got the cost of shelter going up. Rents are going up on a regular basis. New cars. Everything costs more. And I don't think that's something that comes as a surprise to anybody watching this. So, and then we started seeing that there's a lot of trends that are going on. A lot of more taxes. It seems like you lose almost 50% of your income to taxes. I mean, it's really crazy right now. We're in a high tax state as well. And then the regulations on top of that, we're in a high regulation state. It's just a big deal. It almost seems like we're under attack to some degree. And we look at the growing trends of aging in place. We have a lot of seniors coming into place. There's a demographic shift going on where seniors are going to be more and more prevalent. And you might think, well, okay, that's a big deal. What's the big deal about that? Well, the challenge is there's a lot of seniors that don't really have a safety net in place. And so you might even know some people without that safety net, even if they're working and they have jobs in the $20 to $25 range, they're just not making very much per person. And the average per capita income for Sacramento County is only $3,500. Now, many of you there'll be some of you that says, oh, 35, I'd love 3,500. And there's many more of you that go, wow, I could never pay my bills on 3,500. And the average Social Security, think about this, the average Social Security is only $1,900. That's not very much money. And we have plenty of people that you may not realize it, but that's pretty much their sole income right now. And so that's a big deal. These are trends that really cause us concern. So co-living is something that really answers some of these questions. What is co-living? Well, co-living is where we take a house and we rent it out room by room. And when we do that, they share the common areas, they share the amenities of the house, such as all the electric and the water, the sewer, the garbage, all those expenses get shared. And then they do create some shared community within that space. And so there's a lot that goes on and a lot that goes into that. And that's kind of what we want to share with you today. So I'm going to start really by telling you the story of some of the people that are in the co-living properties. And it's probably the most common question we get. Well, who would live in a shared living space? Who would share a bathroom? Who would share a kitchen? And I'll get people and they'll say it. It'll be investors, people that are learning about this for the first time at a meetup club or an investment opportunity. They'll be like, well, I would never do that. No, you probably wouldn't. But thank goodness you probably don't have to. The people that we're talking to, they pretty much have to. Let's see what they have to say.
I was in a sober living environment up in Auburn, and I looked on Craigslist just randomly and found this place, and moved in. Obviously, it was crazy.
The volume, is it going through the Zoom?
It's quiet, super affordable. That's awesome. The place is always clean. It's quiet. It's extremely cheap. That's not the best part of it.
All right, well, we somehow got two videos going at the same time there. But what Zachary was trying to tell us is he's going through a separation. And as part of his separation, he gets to see his daughter. And this was great to have a place that was close to where his daughter was. And then you heard in the background, we had another gentleman talking. And we'll see if he comes up later on. So this is one of our co-living properties here. This is Town Circle. This is in Arden. And as you can see, it's a pretty large house. This one was 3,475 feet. So this is a good size house. So beyond this galley kitchen, as you look down where that light is to the left, that's a laundry room. If you go to the right, there's another bedroom with a full bath there. And you can see that's got a lot of cabinet space. So this was a kind of a traditional, existing traditional house, even though it was pretty large. So the top of the screen is where the front door is. If you come in that front door, you can see that there's a lot of space, some very big rooms. The master bedroom is off to the left-hand lower side. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see 2 large bedrooms. Those are the upstairs. It was existing 6 bedrooms, 3,470 square feet. So this is what we did with it. It's going to be a little hard for you to see on the screen, but we've got the bedroom number 1 that was existing. That has a half bath in it. And then bedroom number 2 is in the middle, close to the front door, which is on the top side of the picture. That's bedroom number 2, is a small bedroom. And then bedroom number 3 is a pretty large bedroom as well. We started to split that bedroom up, but we really wanted to leave these rooms large. And as you come across the hall from bedroom number 3, going down to the bottom of the screen, you'll see bedroom 4 and 5. Now that used to be the master bedroom. We actually split that in half. And then we closed off the wall that would enter from the master bedroom into the master bath. We then opened up a new entry from the hallway. So now everybody on the first floor gets to access that bathroom. Then we came down to which was a bonus room at the bottom of the screen. You'll notice there's 2 doors on those. Those are private entrances into these 2 different bedrooms. We're able to charge a premium for those and also a premium for that half bath bedroom. And so we split that bedroom down. And really the only things we had to do was put in the walls, put in the doors, and then make sure that we had good AC running to these rooms. So now we've got 3 bedrooms added, 2 of them with private entrances. So upstairs, we did pretty much the same thing. We just split up some rooms. Those were large bedrooms upstairs already, and we added in 2 new bedrooms. Now we have 11 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, fully rented, and making a good income. So here's another story. Let's see if we get this one right for today.
I'm originally from the islands, Guam, but I've been out here for about 10 years, I want to say now. Wow. Yeah. I guess with the current living situation, what I like about it is you don't have to worry about who's going to be doing their part and participating in paying what they're supposed to pay. It's like everybody got their own share, so that's a stress-free right there. You don't have to be the responsible one in the house. And having the option, there's a lot of, the rooms here are pretty big too, compared to where I was. So I find it's very, very awesome for the time being. It's actually perfect. So I do find it fitting to my needs at the moment.
Awesome. So if you're online and you didn't have any problems hearing that, if that's a good adjustment for you, just give a thumbs up or say yes in the chat box there. That would let us know that we're getting that out to you. Now, his story was he had lived in another property and his roommates didn't pay their rent. And so he was stuck paying the rent all the time. And so he likes being here because all he has to worry about is himself. And his rent is a lot lower. We'll get into that in a little bit. So here's another story for you.
I was in a sober living environment up in Auburn, and I looked on Craigslist just randomly and found this place, and moved in. It's great. Everybody's respectful. Everybody gets along. It's not just like you pass in the hallway. Everybody acknowledges each other. It's a good time. It's quiet. It's super affordable.
That's awesome.
The place is always clean. It's quiet. And it's extremely cheap. That's not the best part, but the quietude and the roommates now are just fantastic.
So I'm not real sure what quietude is, but it sounds pretty good. I'm going to have to get me some of that, some quietude. So yeah, he told his story. He moved from another environment into this environment. He came out of a sober living, and this has been a great place for him. It's centrally located, easy to get to things, and believe it or not, he actually has an ESA animal that's with him in the unit. It's the quietest dog you ever see. That dog is just there, quiet, doesn't bother anybody, and I think everybody likes that dog. Now, we wouldn't want to have a lot of animals in there, but we let him bring it in. It was a good fit. And here's another story. Again, these stories are really what we're doing this for. We're doing it for profit. That's obviously, we don't want to make it sound like we're angels and we just go out here and do nonprofit stuff. Although my son makes fun of my property management company, he says it is a nonprofit. So it can be on some days. However, we do this for the stories. We do this for the people. It's where we'd like to say this is where passion meets purpose. Purpose meets profit is what we like to say. Sorry about that. Purpose meets profit. So here we go.
I'm Isai. I'm from Mexico, and before being here, I was in a foster care program, and now I'm living by myself. I'm a full-time student, and I like it. So now I'm just planning to stay here until I finish my college, and then transfer to a university.
Awesome. So this gentleman came to us from a foster program. They age out of the foster system. So it's nice to have a place where a good stepping stone into the next part of his life. We like to see that. So this is another property over on Greg Thatch. And Greg Thatch was our second property. We actually bought it first, but actually built it out second. We had some timing issues there, but it worked out great. One thing about real estate I've learned over the years, and Gary, you might second this if maybe, is real estate's a great investment. As long as you don't get in too much of a hurry, you don't have to do anything. So as long as it's cash flowing, you can hold on to it without hurting yourself. It's always going to come out. The problems you hit are usually going to be temporary, and you can ride them out. And when you do ride them out, as long as you're not forced to sell, you usually got a good situation once it's done. And this was one of those examples. This was an 8-bedroom, 2.5 bath. No, a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath that we turned into an 8-bedroom, 3-bath. So watch how we did this. Look at that gorgeous kitchen. So as you came into this property, in this case, the downstairs, the front door is on the bottom of the screen. And as you came into this property, you had the garage on your left. And on the right-hand side, you had this huge living room. It was a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath when we took it on, 2,500 square feet. This living room was 13 by 26 feet. Now, we naturally now, when we walk into a house, we're automatically figuring out where we're going to put the living room. And if you want to find out more about that, I did a video. It's on our Expert Co-Living page. And that video is all about what we're looking for in a co-living property. So if you go check that out, that'll give you a great walkthrough of a property. But here what we did is we took this living room space there. We saw that is a lot of space. What can we do with that? And we had that half bath there as well. Now upstairs, we had a pretty nice layout. You had these 3 large secondary bedrooms plus a loft and a master bedroom. So the master bedroom was big as well, 16 by 19, 3 large bedrooms, and then the loft was 10 by 12. This is a lot of space in that 2,500 square foot. So now this is an 8-bedroom, 3-bath. As you can see, we took the loft and made it into a bedroom. And then we took the master bedroom and we broke that down, created a hallway going back to the master bath, again, so that everyone could access that master bath. And now we have a great place for people. Downstairs, the work we did downstairs is we took the downstairs and we made the half bath into a full bath, and then we added 2 bedrooms in that front living room section. So that's kind of what we do when we take a property over. I think it gives you a pretty good idea of what we're doing when we buy one of these properties. What we're looking for in a property is we want a pretty good sized property that has some extra space. And then we take that extra space and convert it into livable bedroom space. Now we have to operate that property. We've got them set up and we really have to start operating it. What goes involved in that? Well, you have to market the property. You've got to get people to come rent those rooms. You know, we like to say in sales, you could be giving gold bars away, but if you don't get the word out, you'll just be standing there with a stack of gold bars at the end of the night. You've got to get the message out. You've got to get the word out. So you have to screen the tenants. You really want to spend some time on this, getting to know the people that are coming in as much as you can. You know, this is a temporary housing situation, so it's not as deep a background. However, you do want to make sure that they don't have felonies. You want to make sure that they're fairly responsible. You want to make sure that they have some income coming in. And then you try to do your best to keep people out that are going to cause disturbances. So far, we've had only a couple people among, we've got 19 rooms, and we've been doing this for a while now. We've had quite a few people come and go, but we've only had 2 people that really caused a disturbance. And one of them probably would have been fine on his own, but he just really couldn't live well with others. And so that's a little additional screening that you need to do, is make sure they have a temperament that's going to go well with others. And then to manage that process, bringing those people into your pipeline, collecting payments, and then kind of giving them what they need for on board, for they can get in, so they know the code to their room, they know the code to the house, they understand the house rules. All of those things are part of operating that co-living property. And then once you get it up and operating, you got to maintain it. You need maintenance crews that can come by and fix things, cleaning crews. We have cleaners come through every other week. And then you're going to have to turn the rooms over. When those people leave, believe it or not, they don't leave it perfect when they leave. So you got to come in, do some laundry, make the beds, get it ready for the next person. Landscaping's got to be done semi-regularly, or the place will look like a mess. And that's actually will drive your neighbors crazy, and you don't want to do that. We want to be good neighbors. And then there's some legal liability that you need to look at. So we go into that legal liability, and we have several different processes that helps maintain that. So we'll go in with a membership model, and then on top of that membership model, we hire a third-party property management company, and then we're also within an LLC as the investors. And so a lot of layers of protection there. We want to make sure that our investors stay covered. So let's hear another story. How you wound up here, and what does it mean for you to have a place like this where you can be?
This is my 9th year in California. This is the closest I've ever had to having my own room, my own space this entire time. It came at a perfect time. I like to let God just guide me, and it may not look like it may be advantageous for me, but I have to trust Him, and He brought me here.
Is there anything you would change about the place?
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
Yes,
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I couldn't have said that better myself. That was actually a school teacher at St. Hope Academy downtown, and he found this place to be close to his work and in such a fashion that he could afford it. Let's hear another story.
First off, I have to say, I love the home, I love the environment. Everyone here is so great. As far as the vibe goes, it's great. Never been in an environment like this before, and I'm excited. I'm having a great time. The room's great, the view's great, temperature's great, no complaints. I was in a home with my mother, and she passed away, so everything kind of came down on me, and I found myself in a tailspin and found myself without a home.
All right, so a lot of people come here with different stories. Some of them have a little bit of trauma that's going on in their life, and we're a good solution for them. It's a temporary solution, but a good one.
Actually, my son found this.
Okay.
And he said, Bob, I found, look at these, they got rooms. He said, did you do half the rent that you paid in the motel? The motel, $2,000 a month. That was expensive, you know. And this is a blessing to me because, you know, it's giving me the opportunity to save. The surprise was to find a place like this. Most rooming houses that I know of coming out of Chicago or in the slums, and they're, you know, not the type of house that you really want to live in. You know, to find something of this quality, that's what really makes me happy with, because I'm in a good spot.
Well, we're really glad that he did find us. He's a great member. Michael's a member of the club there, and over in Greg Thatch, and we're glad he got there.
I'm repositioning myself. I got in an accident and I retired a little bit early. My son is what brought me down here. I haven't really met any of the outside community, but the indoor community is a lot better because of the screening that happens before people are allowed to even move in here.
All right. Well, we do take time to try to screen the tenants. We found that it was a little bit, in the beginning, we had a little bit of trouble with that, but we've kind of worked through some of that. We've had great tenants since then, and most people want to be nice. Most people want to get along. You just have some personalities that don't do that very well. So you've met some of the people. We've talked to you a little bit about what we do, and now we're going to share some of the numbers behind it. And as we get into these numbers, I want you to think about the effect that our creative finance has on it. So my partner Gary is an expert at doing assumed loans, and with the assumed loans and the sub-2 that we learned from Pace Morby, using some of these creative finances tools really makes a big difference. I like to say it's almost like having an extra bedroom or two. It's almost like we got 12 or 13 bedrooms because we've got this great financing. So Here we purchased this property for $710,000. We got it subject to on that first, and that first was $300,000 at 2.25%. Now we bought this property in October, I believe. September. In September, and I assure you, interest rates were not as high as they are now, but they weren't 2.25%. It's like we went back in a time machine and were able to get this loan. So that kept our principal and interest payment really low. And then we also, another thing that helps is we didn't actually have to transition that the taxes into the new bracket. And then our principal and interest on the second were only $2,000. Now that one we did $310,000 as a seller carry. And so that one we will probably pay off at some point, but it's at 7%. And we're glad to pay that little extra for the opportunity we got on the first one. So it was a great opportunity for us and really worked out good for the seller as well. He didn't have to take a big hit on his taxes, and he gets that monthly income coming in on a regular basis. If you're out there and you have a property that you think might be a good fit, we'd love to hear from you. You can call me or you can call my partner Gary, and we'll run the numbers and see if it works out. Now, as you can see, that principal, interest, taxes, and insurance comes in quite a bit lower than our 11 bedrooms income. The income across those bedrooms, around $1,037, $11,416 a month if it's all stable and fully rented out. So Greg Thatch was a similar type deal. On this one, though, we did not do a sub-2. On this one, we actually assumed the entire mortgage. So there's no seller carry. There was no subject to. We took over, one of our investors actually took over the loan, and that was at $648,000, 4.6% interest rate, which is still a great rate. Principal and interest, $3,332. Taxes and insurance brings that one up to just about what we were paying on the other property. On this one, we have not gotten our full 9 rooms. We're at 8 rooms right now. We're going to add another bedroom soon, hopefully. And so that one comes in at $89.65 with all 9 bedrooms. So that's kind of tells you a little bit about the effects of the creative finance. So now I want to just kind of run through a little bit. Now this might be old hat for some of you, but some people might need a little brush up on this, or maybe they don't quite fully understand even when they know the words. So as you get into this, you've got $250,000. If that's invested, if you invest $100,000 and somebody else invests $150,000, you've got $250,000 in there, and you get $10,000, then that means you're getting 10%, and the other person is getting 10%, the other investors. So the total combined return is $25,000, which is 10% of that total amount invested. So just kind of wanted to break that down so you can understand when we talk about cash flow, what we're talking about is you put in this much and you're getting this much back. That percentage is the return you're getting back. That's your return on investment from your cash flow. So there's 5 total forms of investment. Returns of investment on your five forms of return of investment in real estate. Sorry about that. You'd think if I wrote it, I'd be able to say it, right? So if you invest that $250,000, if you come in and you've got a loan on that property, let's say your loan payment is $3,500, principal and interest is broken out as you see it there on the screen. Got about $1,000 of it going towards the principal in the beginning of the loan, and about $2,400 going towards the interest in the beginning of the loan. So every year, that's the amounts that are going forward there. So that amount of the loan payoff divided by the investment made. So we made a $250,000 investment, but our loan is being paid off $12,000 a year, $12,600, right? So when you divide the $12,600 into the $250,000, you get a 5% return. So that you can see that's paying your loan off. Sometimes people will call this equity growth, and sometimes they'll call it interest or loan pay down or payoff. Either one, you'll hear those terms interchangeably. And on this one, this is return of investment on interest deduction. And so just like we used those same numbers before, if you've got a $3,500 payment, the $2,450 in the beginning is going towards your interest. The interest is going to be about $29,400 a year. Now, depending on what tax bracket you're in, is the value of this deduction. So what they do is they let you deduct it against your tax bracket, and when you're in that, you'll get a value of the deduction against the income that comes in. So the value of this deduction is $9,408 for someone that's in the 32% tax bracket. So that $9,408 divided by the $250,000 is where you're getting that 3.76%. That is an additional return on investment. So this one is the one that everybody's familiar with. Now, this one really matters. You have to be careful with this one because what really matters is what number you pick to use for the appreciation. Now, what we choose to pick is a pretty conservative number. We say 4%. And you can see California over the last 30 was 5.5, over the last 10 was 6.5, over the last 5 was 7.5. And so we think 4% is pretty conservative over the long term. And so when you look at that, we've got $24,000. Our purchase price there of $600,000, $24,000 would be your 4%. And then when you divide the 24 into the 250, by the 250, you're going to get that 9.6%. So that's the way you figure out the appreciation. Now, depreciation is a whole nother game. I'm going to explain basic depreciation just so you understand it, but we're going to come back to this one in just a little bit. So you invested $250,000. Your return on investment is going to be 2.23% in this case. Again, I'm not using real numbers here. What I'm doing is just showing you how to calculate it. So if you bought a property for $600,000 and your land value was $120,000, then your improvements would be $480,000. So that's actually a pretty good estimate. That's how most properties break out. So the IRS says that you will depreciate that property down to zero in 27.5 years. It's not talking about the property, it's talking about just the improvements. And so when you take that 27.5 into the 480, it's going to give you $17,454. Multiply that times your tax bracket that we're using of 32%, and we get that value of $5,585. That $5,085 divided by the investment of $250, which is what it took in order to get it, gives you this additional ROI. Now, I know this is not a very exciting ROI, but I want you to hold this thought. Now that you understand how to do this, we're going to come back to depreciation. All right, so when we add up all these forms of depreciation, now we're going to talk about some real numbers. Those were just explanations. Now we're going to go into some real numbers. These are what we're getting on our two properties. Remember we showed you Arden and we showed you a property in Natomas? Now when we blend those two together, our investors invested about $400,000 across both properties. Almost even, but not quite even. And the cash flow from those are projected at 11.56%. That's a pretty good cash flow. If you're out there, remember, cash flow is you gave me money, how much are you getting back every month? When you add that monthly stream of income up for the year, then you're seeing that the cash flow comes out to that amount, the 11.56%. The loan payoff at 5.99%, interest deduction at 4.47%, and the depreciation at 3.35%. Appreciation at 14.4%, and and the total return is going to come out to 39.78%. So that's our return on investment across our existing portfolio. Now, some of those things you won't really see the effect of the interest deduction or depreciation until you file your taxes. Those are going to be based on the taxes. So I told you we'd talk again about the depreciation. Remember how I said that some items you're able to depreciate at 27.5%? The simple version of bonus depreciation and segregated cost study is a segregated cost study allows you to look at an entire house and then break apart different things within the house that have different appreciation schedules. Or I should have said depreciation schedules, right? So maybe the improvement of the house itself is 27.5, but the curtains aren't 27.5, they're only 15. Or the fireplace might be different, the carpet might be different, the roof might be different. All the things in the house, right down to the windows, right down to the doorknobs, all of them run actually a different depreciation schedule. And that's what a cost segregation study does, is it comes in and it assigns a value to each one of those that is the actual depreciation rather than just using the generic 27.5 years. Now, once you understand what all of those are, the items that are under 15 years, the Big Beautiful Bill Act basically says all of those items that are under 15 years depreciation schedule, you can take all of that depreciation in 1 year. The rough effect of that is going to be that our investors hopefully won't have to pay any taxes on the rental income that we give them in this first year. Now, I got to say here that I'm not a tax guy. I've actually never even done one of these segregation studies. And so this is all just a projection. I think it's pretty close to being right, though. I run it by several people who are tax people, and they tell me this is the best thing that's ever happened to real estate investors. So you may not agree with our current president, but you should definitely be glad that he had a past in real estate investing, because it's showing up in this big, beautiful bill act. So how do you take advantage of this? As you can see, there's a lot of moving parts. First, you got to find a good deal. Get that creative financing. Then you got to find a house that has the ability to not only give you the creative financing, but has the space that you need in order to do what you need to do. On top of that, now you have to set up the co-living. You have to convert the house into a co-living space, furnish the house. You have to bring in everything related to that, and then you have to set up the operations of that house. There's a lot of things to do. And if you're a single investor, if you're out there as a solo investor, you're going to be a fast-moving target, and you're moving quick from investment to investment. But once you get cranking and you start doing all of that, you're going to wind up looking like this guy. Every one of those bags is one of those things I just talked about. It adds up and it adds up. Now, we're pretty blessed. We have a lot of experience in doing this. Both of us run real estate teams, and we have two of us, and that really helps, that by itself. And then also I own a property management company, and that property management company is really designed to do this very thing. And so that really helps. And so we can take the ride a little more like this one. And so we get to share the ride with each other, and we want to share it with you as well. As a group of investors, when you come out and you invest, you're able to take part in the same things that we've already created. So as the sponsors, you're going to have Gary and myself working alongside you. We're going to underwrite investments, and then we're going to bring those properties to you. We're going to help with the property conversion. We're going to run that property management, the ongoing operations, and then giving advice to the investment club. What we're doing here today is you have an opportunity to join our investment club that's going to purchase the next sets of properties that we purchase. So as an investment club member, you get to vote on each investment. Instead of us going out and finding a property and then bringing you into a property that just we found, and you don't really have any choices and any say in it, what we're going to do is bring it to you as the investment club, and we're going to let you vote if you want to invest in this property. And then you're also going to vote to buy it and vote to sell it later down the road. If there comes up a time to need refinancing, you're in charge as an investor. Your vote is on a prorated share, and so you get to come in and make choices based on what this investment's going to do. You're also providing accountability to myself and Gary as the sponsor, and also to the vendors that you decide that we're going to hire. Now, we do this through a fractional app. This is like a platform that lets us do things faster. We're really big on efficiencies, and so what enables us to do a lot, we both run busy properties and busy companies, but we use tools that enable us to do that. Gary's a big believer in high level, and his whole business empire runs on that. I run mine on RentVine and then also on Follow Up Boss, so this is just another platform that helps us do that. Now, these guys will come in and facilitate the back end. They actually set up and maintain the LLC, and they have the platform that enables us to vote wherever you're at all across the country. You don't have to come to the meeting here. We'll have the meeting online just like we're doing here, and you'll be able to take part in the voting, and you'll be able to vote on this platform, which keeps it really transparent. Well, they'll hold the investment funds until we're ready to distribute those funds, and they'll also provide all the tax documentation for the project. So the expectations we have of club members is for you to take part in those voting sessions ever so often. And then we want you to look at this as a long-term investment. We'd like everyone to be a minimum fixed-term investor. We're not really wanting to sell these properties at the end of the year. They're making good money, so we find that that's something we probably are going to want to hold on to. And you're probably going to want to hold on to it as well. If we're hitting those 10 to 15% target numbers for cash flow, you're probably not getting rid of it, especially when you really understand the 30 to 45% that you're actually making in the long run. Just like the insurance companies invest more in apartment complexes, they do that for those other return on investments. They don't necessarily do it just for the cash flow or even for the appreciation. They do it for those other tax benefits. We want to have financially stable people. We put a $10,000 minimum investment here, and that's really for people that don't have the means to invest. They're just now getting started. Younger people are people getting up on their investment platform. Maybe they've just started saving and want to take their step. If you're a seasoned investor, then we were looking for closer to $25,000, $50,000, $100,000. Our average investor is $50,000. Our highest investor right now is $100,000. And so we'd like, if you're going to come in, that's what really moves the needle. The more money we have in the fund, the better types of properties we can go and purchase. Now, understand this. We have the ability, and have been doing this through Pace Morby and through our years in real estate, to buy property without money. But we know that the returns are better if you have some money in the property. We know that your learning process will be better if you come in and have some of your own money in the transaction. We believe that if you share the reward, you'll share the risk. And by sharing the risk, you spread it out, and then you get to share the reward. Education without action is mere entertainment. So many people take education, they go to class, they go to meetups, they go to conferences, and then they don't do anything. What we wanted to do is have a platform that was a low enough bar of entry for first-timers and new people to come in, yet also have some seasoned hands that have been here for a long time and that understand most every aspect of real estate. There's things that we both could learn still, but there's not a lot that we haven't seen together between the two of us. So we would love to have you learn more about this. All you have to do is shoot me a text or an email, Barry at Broker Barry. Text that number there. We'll send you back the website for your fractional investment. When you get on that website, it will tell you more of the details about what you need to do. And we're looking forward to sitting across this table with you right here, or in the Zoom if that's where it winds up. You're welcome to come here. We're looking forward to investing with you and helping you get some of those great returns that we're getting. We really like what we're doing. You've met the people we're doing it with, and we really like giving them a place to live and making a profit at the same time. Remember, co-living is where purpose meets profit. Do you have any questions for us? All right. Well, if there's no questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up tonight. Thank you for your patience in us getting started a little bit on the late side. And then thank you also for our slide deck was a little bit thrown off at the last minute. So we really appreciate you joining us. And again, if you have any questions, this is the time. Throw it out there. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for joining us, and we're going to go ahead and call it a night.